DeMeco Ryans, what are you doing? Of all the reactions to the dirty hit by Azeez Al-Shaair that knocked Trevor Lawrence out of action with a concussion, it was Ryans' response that was the most disappointing. The Houston Texans coach had the nerve to blame the victim. Having reviewed the video and had time to reflect, Ryans said, "It's twofold, right? Nowadays, many quarterbacks try to take advantage of the rule, where they slide late and try to get an extra yard. You're a defender, and much of the onus is on the defender. You don't know what a guy is thinking. You don't know if a guy is staying up and continuing to run or if they will be late. This needs to be corrected." DeMeco Ryans, a former Pro Bowl linebacker, should know better. Sure, defensive players often complain about safety rules, and we've seen quarterbacks hesitate for that extra yard. Patrick Mahomes is a master at freezing defenders with pump fakes. However, this situation with Trevor Lawrence wasn't one of those cases. Lawrence was giving himself up with a feet-first slide. There was no hesitation, no fake. Al-Shaair knew precisely what he was doing when he launched himself at Lawrence, leading with a forearm to the head and neck area. Whether intentional or not, it violated the NFL's rules protecting defenseless players. But Ryans disregarded the facts. He said, "It's unfortunate that Trevor got hurt, but if we're sliding, we must get down. If we're getting out of bounds, get out of bounds." This misses the point entirely. The rule to protect quarterbacks is there for a reason, to prevent hits like the one Lawrence took. And by defending Al-Shaair, Ryans is undermining the very idea of player safety. It wasn't just Ryans, though. Houston's general manager, Nick Caserio, also jumped to Al-Shaair's defense. Caserio criticized the NFL for what he saw as inconsistency in its disciplinary actions. "One of the biggest issues we have as an organization is the picture that's been painted of Azeez. Quite frankly, it's unfair," Caserio said. This unfair defense rings hollow. Until now, Al-Shaair had never been ejected or suspended by the league. And yet, Caserio compared this case to situations involving other players, like Detroit Lions safety Brian Branch and Los Angeles Chargers safety Derwin James. Caserio pointed out that both players had faced lesser punishments for more egregious violations. While Caserio might believe this suspension is too harsh, let's be clear, Al-Shaair's hit on Lawrence was as bad as it gets. It was a vicious, late hit to a quarterback already in a vulnerable position, and Ryans' attempt to downplay it is just appalling. Imagine if the situation were reversed, and an opposing defender took out C.J. Stroud with a similar hit. Would Ryans be as lenient then? Would the Texans stand by their player if their star quarterback was the one left with a concussion? Luckily, Trevor Lawrence is recovering well, as he shared on social media after returning home. Al-Shaair also took to social media to apologize to Lawrence, expressing remorse for the hit. But while Al-Shaair offered a more measured perspective, Ryans blamed the Jaguars, saying their sideline overreacted and caused the melee that followed. This is where Ryans could have done better. Emotions were high after Lawrence went down, but Al-Shaair's reckless hit ignited the situation. If anything, the brawl resulted from the frustration and anger of the Jaguars players seeing their quarterback laid out by an illegal hit. But Ryans would instead shift the blame onto the Jaguars. Al-Shaair's actions were hardly an isolated incident. In Week 2, he had a similarly questionable hit on Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams. That hit, deemed late and unnecessary, led to a fine for Al-Shaair. Now, we see a pattern of reckless behavior, and Ryans' refusal to take responsibility for it is troubling. Ryans' defense of Al-Shaair also ignores that this is a matter of one player's misconduct, a broader issue of accountability within the NFL. By failing to acknowledge the severity of the situation, Ryans has inadvertently undermined the NFL's efforts to protect players. The suspension may serve as a teaching moment for Al-Shaair, but it should also remind the Texans and their coaching staff about the importance of player safety. Because when you condone this type of behavior, you send the message that the rules don't matter. And that, ultimately, puts every player at risk. Ryans' comments have opened a conversation about the NFL's approach to player safety. The league can't afford to keep making excuses for reckless behavior from players, coaches, or teams. Safety should always come first, and it's time for the NFL to hold everyone, especially coaches like Ryans, accountable when they fail to prioritize it.